All right. Well, if you have your Bible, turn with us to the Gospel according to John, chapter number 9. John chapter number 9 for our text this morning. I don't have a sign that we're good. Are we good, Mr. Carrico? It was. And then what happened? The gremlins? It's what?
The speaker's going in and out, so we'll figure that out.
Well,
We'll still get the recording, but I'm trying to get
well, that's the main part. Yeah, the recording part's the main part. The speaker part, we can deal with it going in and out. All right, well, John chapter number 9, we'll read the first 12 verses located in this chapter this morning. And we've got about 8 things that we want to notice out of these scriptures here today. So John chapter number 9, we'll start reading with verse number 1, and we'll read the first 12 verses in this chapter. Here John writes, and he says, "And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. He said unto him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went his way therefore, and washed, and came seeing. The neighbors therefore, and they which before had seen him, that he was blind, said, Is not this he that sat and begged? Some said, This is he. Others said, He is like him. But he said, I am he. Therefore said they unto him, How were thine eyes opened? He answered and said, A man that is called Jesus made clay and anointed mine eyes, and said unto me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed, and I received sight. Then said they unto him, Where is he? He said, I know not. When we come here this morning to this particular chapter, a very well-known story about the blind man that is healed. So no doubt we've heard this story many times. We've heard it taught. We've heard it preached. We've heard it in Sunday school lessons and vacation Bible school lessons and different forms and different fashions. But as we look at this text this morning, there's about 8 things that I want to show you with a thought in mind of opening the eyes. So this man here is a man that has a very specific need, and we see exactly what his need is, and he knows what his need is, but he doesn't know what to do about it. And there's really nothing that he can do to change his circumstance or his situation, which is really the natural state of man. When we look at ourselves and we examine ourselves, we know there's a gap and we know there's a void, and we know that we can't fix it. People try to fix it in different methods and different ways, and they use all kinds of things to try to fix it. But the end result is the only thing that can fix that delta, and the only thing that can close that gap, and the only thing that can open our eyes is Jesus himself. That's the only thing, and that's the only way. So we see here, and like I said, in these 12 verses, there are about 8 things that I want to show you with a thought of opening the eyes. Also, kind of thought about it as grace over guilt, but we'll try to look at it and examine these 12 verses here this morning. The first thing that I want you to notice we find here in verse number 1 is this: there's a problem seen, as the Bible tells us, and as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. So the first thing we see here, there's a problem seen. So we know here the need is real. The need is personable. It is directed to this specific individual. He has this need. So as Jesus is walking down the street there, as Jesus is walking down the road there, he notices a specific person and a specific individual. There's a problem that is seen, and it is impossible for man to fix. It's going to require some divine intervention. And when we look at this verse, we have to think about this. On the road of life, think about the number of people that we pass every single day. We see people all the time, and we went over last night. We left the campground and went to the fireworks over there at Hillsville, and got a few watermelons and some good things. And you look and you examine. And I asked Mousy what she was doing there that early, because she was there. Y'all was there like 4 hours, and she said she liked people watching, to watch the people go by. And there was a lot of different kind of people that you could have seen. And if I didn't notice them, Layla was sure to point them out to me. She noticed, what some people was wearing and some of the things that was going on there. And but for most of us, it would have been easy to kind of got lost in the crowd yesterday. There was a lot of people, and they were convoluted down there, and kids riding rides, and people eating watermelon, and all the food trucks and all the vendors, and people gathering around listening to the band play, and there was a lot of people, and that would be easy to be lost in the crowd. There was a few people that stood out that I remember seeing them, but you know what? I guarantee you, most people probably don't remember seeing me yesterday. I didn't really stand out. I'm just a face in the crowd. I was just another person that was there. And I was just somebody that was in the midst of that, and I really didn't stand out. I said all that to say this: no matter how big the crowd is, no matter what's going on, and no matter how big the world seems sometimes, here's what we have to understand: Jesus sees us. In the crowd, and in the middle of all that, here's this person that stands out. There's a problem that Jesus sees. He notices this man and knows what his problem is. And you know what? Sometimes this world might seem like it beats us up, and sometimes it might seem like it pushes around, and sometimes it might seem like that nobody cares. But here's what we've got to understand: that Jesus is looking and Jesus cares. He sees this person, and he sees the problem that this person has. And you know what? For a lot of us, most of the time, people don't know what we're carrying around. They don't know the inner burdens, and they don't know the inner struggles, and they don't know the things that are going on in our mind, and they don't know the things that we're carrying. And you know what? For some of us, sometimes we're carrying a very heavy load, and you know what? People may not see that, but Jesus does. He knows this man's problem, and he picks up on it. Jesus is walking there. As he passed by, he sees this man that was blind from his birth. Now, we see in verse number 1, there's a problem seen. In verse number 2, we see there's a perception that's supposed here, though. And his disciples ask, saying, Master, who did sin? This man or his parents, that he was born blind? There's a perception that the disciples here are supposing. Now, we know this information about this man. He's blind. This is all we know from verse number 1. We also know that he is blind from his birth. And the disciples aren't privy to this information here. So as they pass by and Jesus notices this man, these disciples give their perceptions. Well, one of two things has happened. This man's parents sinned, or this man has sinned. That's the only two things that they could come up with, and that's the only two things that they had. The disciples ask, when Jesus notices this man and sees this man, I don't know if he started up a conversation with him, or if they have stopped there in front of this man, or whatever, but we do know this: when the disciples saw him and noticed that Jesus had noticed him, this is what they asked. They have this perception that either this man has sinned or his parents have sinned. Now, we know this from verse number 1. The disciples aren't privy to this yet. We know that he's blind from his birth. So he didn't sin to cause it to happen, right? Not him. So if we look at their logic, there's only one other thing. that this man's parents have sinned, and they have passed this down to the next generation. Now that was a common thought, and that's what people believed. That if the parents done something wrong, then it could be passed on to the next generation. That was a belief in that time, and the disciples here want to know, well, which one of the two is it? Is it that this man has sinned, or is it that his parents have sinned and has passed this down to them? Now, their perception here that they have supposed, we know is wrong, but when we look at this, I want you to notice this. They focused on the cause, not the cure. What should they have asked? Now they asked, did this man sin or did his parents sin? What should they have asked Jesus? Hey, can you help this man? That's what they should have asked, right? They shouldn't have asked, well, what got him into trouble? They shouldn't have asked, well, what's caused this condition? They shouldn't have asked, well, why is this man, suffering with this? Why is this happening? And why is this going on? But what they want to know is, and their question is this: did he sin or did his parents sin that he was born blind? Is this the reason? What has caused this? What has caused this? Why didn't they ask Jesus to heal him? Instead of focusing on what the cause was, they should have focused on what the cure was. Now, for a lot of us, this is easy for us to follow, because this is what we do. Some of us, we may have sat in our chairs last night and watched people walk by and said, man, what is wrong with those people? Why are they wearing that? Why are they saying that? Why are they acting this way? What we should have done is sat in our chairs and said, man, there's somebody that needs Jesus. We should have focused on the cure and not the cause. And what was going through somebody's mind and what they were thinking. And here the disciples are walking, with the Lord Jesus at this particular time. They have seen miracles take place. They've seen great things happen, and they've seen him be able to change lives. But what are they doing? They're focusing on the cause and not the cure. The focus is on the wrong thing, and they're not looking in the right direction. They're not thinking about the right things. Their mindset and their focus and their thoughts is somewhere that it shouldn't be, and something they shouldn't be worrying about, and something they shouldn't be looking at. They sought guilt and not grace. They wanted to know, for this man to be in this condition, who's the guilty party? Who's guilty? And they weren't looking for grace. They were looking for guilt. Well, let me ask you this. For all of us, I imagine that all of us have things in our lives that we're not extremely proud of, and we'd rather have grace than guilt, right? We would rather have that. But there are people, they just want to know, what caused this to happen? Why is this person acting this way? What's the guilt behind it? Who's at fault, and who is it that is responsible for this activity? They weren't looking for grace. They were looking for guilt. We not only see a problem seen and a perception that's supposed, but also in verse number 3, we see a purpose that's stated. Jesus answered, neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents. Their perception is wrong. Now, a lot of times in life, I find this. My perception of what's happening oftentimes is wrong. I make up something in my head that the reason this went this way and this happened for this reason, and I have to have an answer, right? And a lot of times my perception is not right. My perception is not what it should be. And Jesus here makes this very plain to them. He says, it's not that this man has sinned. It's not that this man's parent has sinned. But we see here there's a purpose that's going to be stated. He says, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. No one caused it. Nobody's at fault. This man's condition is not because he's done something wrong. This man's condition is not because his parents did something wrong. This man's condition is not because of that in any way, form, or fashion whatsoever. So what's the purpose behind this? Jesus makes this statement that it's this, that the works of God should be made manifest in him. No one caused it. But here's what happens. This man's suffering sets the stage. This man, who's been blind from his birth, his suffering, what all he's went through. Now, we don't know, what his life was like. We know, according to the later verses, that he's the one that sat and begged. He's the one that's, looking for somebody to sustain him and to help him out and, to be able to provide for him. There was no government program that would have taken care of him, for him back in those days. There was nothing like that. It was his responsibility. I don't know if he's void of family or what. But we do know this, that the stage is set, and God's going to use this circumstance to make a grand and glorious display. Now, there are plenty of things in life that I don't always follow. There are plenty of things in life that I don't always understand. There are things that occurs and things that happen that, I don't have all the answers and I don't have all the solutions to. But we do know this, that God uses those circumstances for good. All those things that aren't perfect and all those things that aren't great and all those things that aren't going well, God uses those circumstances for good. And I've used this example before, but I think still the greatest example of that is Solomon. David commits sin, right? Has Bathsheba's husband killed in the line of duty. Takes Bathsheba as his wife. Now, God didn't approve of any of that, right? There was no approval for sin there. But out of that relationship, God produces and gives us Solomon. Even though Solomon, was brought in the wrong way and in the wrong manner, there's great things that God was able to do. And here's what I found in life: all the faults and all our failures and all the things that go wrong and all the things that don't go the way they're supposed to, it still amazes me the way that God's able to take those things and do good things out of them, and do great things out of them. This man is not suffering from blindness because he's guilty of something. This man's parents hasn't caused this to happen. And this man is going through something, but it's going to set the stage and it's going to allow for something to happen. Nobody's caused it, but there's going to be a display that's going to happen, and we're going to see that here. And we're going to see the works of God is going to be made manifest how? In Him. God is able to take our trials, and God is able to take our troubles, and God is able to take our tribulations, and He's able to take those things and make good things out of it for all the world to see. You are the display of the grace of God. You're the thing that people see. He's going to be the instrument, and he's going to be the tool that God uses here. This blind beggar, God's going to use him as an instrument or a tool to be able to show his mighty works and to be able to see those things. The works of God are not made manifest in just phenomenons and natural circumstances like that. The works of God are made manifest through his people. And the works of God are made manifest through His children. And the works of God are made manifest through us. And the world should be able to see that. And the display should be made not because, God made the sun to rise and He does every single day. And not that He makes, the sun to set and He does that every single day. Not that this world keeps spinning and He does that every single day. But the works of God are manifest in His people and in His children. Just like this man here, we're going to see that the works of God are going to be made manifest in Him. And guess what they're not going to be able to do? They're not going to be able to deny it. We'll see that at the end verses here. There's something great and grand that happens here. There's a purpose that is stated. The works of God are going to be made manifest in Him. Not only do we see a purpose stated, but we see a priority set. And Jesus says this here in verse number 4. He says, I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. Now, we went last night and watched the fireworks display there at Hillsville. I thought the ending was great. I thought it was awesome. But they had to wait till it to get dark to set off the fireworks. Anybody ever been to a fireworks show in the middle of the day? They have those? Probably not, right? A fireworks show at whatever time it is right now wouldn't have the same effect as a fireworks show at night. It wouldn't be as glorious, and it wouldn't be as grand, and it wouldn't be as much fun to watch, because you may not see, the things that are happening the way that they happen when it's dark. Now, at the end there, when they set off all that there at the end, man, where we were sitting at, it got pretty light. And you could see around you pretty good. It got that bright and it showed off that much. Now, if that was done during the middle of the day, it would have lost its luster just a little bit. And Jesus here is basically saying, hey, things need to be done at the right time and at the proper time. And he said, here's what I've got to do. I've got to work, and I've got to do these works that sent me. I've got to do them while it's day. Why? Because the night comes when no man can work. Now, you don't set off fireworks in the middle of the day. You don't trim trees in the middle of the night. You don't mow your yard at midnight. One, you can't see what you're doing. Two, your neighbors are probably going to get really upset with you. And he tells them here that this is what he has to do. He's going to do the works of him that sent him. We see the priority is set. He says, because it is daytime now, when the night cometh, when no man can work. The night is going to come when nobody. So there's a priority that's set. There's a sense of urgency that is placed right here. Because here's what Jesus knows. From the moment Jesus arrives in Bethlehem, he is on his way to Calvary. From the moment that his birth occurs, he is on a road and he's on a journey and he's on his way to the cross. From the moment, from the cradle to the cross, he knows that journey is set. And Jesus knows this, that while he's here on earth, there's only a certain amount of miracles that he was going to be able to perform. The time was limited. Can't start public ministry because he's going to follow the tradition of the Jews, and he's not going to be able to be accused of anything, sideways or anything like that. So he can't start public ministry till he's 30 years old. And he knows the cross is in the future. And in a short time span of over about 3 years, Jesus is going to do all these miracles and do all of these things and do all of these works. And guess what? He can't call Uber to get him from one town to another. He can't, get on a plane and fly from one locale to another locale. What does he have as far as transportation? Well, he has the old school transportation, his own 2 feet, right? Or an animal, or a boat. That's it. That's the mode of transportation. So the timetable is short. It's truncated just a little bit. And Jesus knows that there's a lot of things that need to be done, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And he says, I've got to do these works while it's daytime. I've got to do it while I can, because the night coming when no man can work. So here's what Jesus is doing. He's setting the priority here, and he's saying, hey, all of this needs to be done with a sense of urgency. Let me tell you where the modern New Testament church fails at. We have no sense of urgency. What's going to happen? People that don't get saved are going to die lost, and they're going to go to hell. And we don't have a sense of urgency. We're not troubled about it. Oh, there's plenty of time. And there's all kinds of time that's left. And here's the thing about it. And I don't wish this for us, but I do know this. This could be our last day on earth. All of us. This could be it. We don't know. And guess what? For some people it will be. Some people, this is their last day. And we don't move with a sense of urgency. And we don't move with the sense of concern. And Jesus here, he sets the priority. He says, I've got to do these works. And I know that our lives are busy, and there's lots of things for us to do, and there's lots of stuff that goes on in our lives. But guess what? What we do here at Blue Ridge School is very important. And there should be a sense of urgency about it. Jesus says here, hey, I've got to work. I've got to get all this stuff done. Nobody can work when it's nighttime. So while it is light, I've got to work and do the works of him that sent me. We see the priorities set, but not only that, we see in verse number 5, there's a presence that's supplied. He says, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Jesus reveals himself as the source of hope. Jesus reveals himself as the source of healing. Darkness can't abide where he is. The light is there. And as long as the light is there, the work must be done. And he says, that you got to do that while it's day. And he says, as long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. As long as I'm here, then that light is supplied. And as long as I'm here, there's a presence that's going to be here. And I am the light of the world. And while I'm here, the works can be done. While I'm here, all this can be accomplished. While I'm here, all of this can be worked on, and we see here his presence gives them something that they wouldn't normally have. It gives them hope, and it gives them healing, and it gives them the opportunity to do that. His presence is supplied, and guess what? Without his presence, this blind man does not get healed. You say, how do you know? Because he spent his whole life blind. Without his presence, there is no hope. Without his presence, there is no healing. And he says here, I am the light of the world. And he's still the light of the world. He says, as long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. Well, we know that he's still the light of the world. And he's not saying that when he leaves, he's no longer the light of the world. He's saying, while I'm here, the light is here, and the work must be done. And labor has to be accomplished. And things needs to get done. And he tells them here that his presence is supplied, that his presence is there, that his presence is there for them. Not only do we see that, but in verse number 6, we see a prescription that's strange. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. Now, we don't know this man's history. We don't know what all he's done. But I imagine this, he's probably seen doctors, and he's probably went and visited physicians, and he's probably, and we don't know about his parents, and we don't know about him, but I imagine this, they did what they could for their little boy, right? They tried to get him help. They tried to find something. Because, this is something I can't imagine being the parent of this man and being his parent and having their child born blind. Because, what do we say when we ask somebody, that's about to have a child, do you want a boy or a girl? What do they always say? Oh, as long as it's healthy. We don't care which one, as long as it's healthy. And that's what we would want, right? Can you imagine the pain of the parents to have a blind child? Now, they're probably not put off by the inconvenience of it, but they feel sorry for their little boy who can't see. And they're vexed in their spirit about that. And they're troubled about that. So I imagine they tried everything that they possibly could. And Jesus gives them something strange. He spits on the ground and makes mud, and takes this mud and puts it on his eyes. Now this man is probably thinking, what in the world is going on here? Right? What is happening? What's going on? Now, this is a very strange prescription that is being prescribed right here. This is an odd way of going about it. It's kind of like poor Mousie. Mousie's night cream, she thinks it cures everything, right? If you've got a cut, put night cream on it. If you've got a sore, put night cream on it. If you've got an aneurysm, rub night cream on it. It'll be flat tire. It don't matter. You just rub night cream on it, and it'll fix it. And some cases it probably does. But for a lot of us, the first time we heard that, it seemed a little bit strange, right? This man, who's probably tried everything, is exposed to Jesus. Jesus passes by, sees him. The disciples say, hey, is it this man's fault or is it his parents' fault that he's blind? And Jesus says, nope, neither one of those. It's that the works of God can be displayed in him. The sun's getting low, and we're going to work and we're going to labor and we're going to show the works of God through him. And he reaches down or spits on the ground, reaches down and makes a very strange salve or a very strange ointment there. But we see this. It's a very simple method. And guess what works? Faith works with a strange thing sometimes. Faith just works. This man here has probably tried it all. And we see him here that Jesus, makes this clay out of the spittle and wipes it on this man's eyes. It's simple. It's odd, but it's something that we're not going to be able to deny the effects of it. We see the power that's shown in verse number 7. And said unto him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went his way, therefore, and washed, and came seeing. There's a power that's shown here. Jesus makes the clay, wipes it on his eyes, and tells him, do this. You go wash in the pool of Siloam. Now, it's not the clay that Jesus made that gives him sight. It's not the water in the pool of Siloam that gives him sight. More than likely, I would say he knows where the pool of Siloam is. He's probably bathed there before because he didn't ask Jesus how to get there. He just goes, right? This is probably a locale he's very familiar with. This is probably not the first time that he's been in that water. And it's probably not the first time he's had dirt on his face. It's not the dirt. It's not the clay. It's not the water of the pool. But we see here something great that happens. He went his way, therefore, and washed and came seeing. It's not the water and it wasn't the clay. It's the power of God that Jesus worked through this man. It's that he was willing to go and to wash. He followed the instruction that he was given, and he did exactly what it is that he was told to do. What would have happened if he said, you know what? No, I'm going to stay right here. I'm comfortable on this rock or on this stump or on this stool or wherever it was that he was at. What if the man had decided to not go? What is it that made the difference? He went his way, therefore, and washed. What is it that this man did? He did exactly what it is that Jesus told him to do. You want to see something make a change in your life, then do exactly what it is that Jesus tells you to do. And there we'll see, real change and true change that can be made in our lives if we just follow what it is that Jesus tells us to do. There's a power that is shown right here. And then in verse number 8 down through verse number 12, we see a proof that's significant. The neighbors, therefore, they which before had seen him that he was blind, said, is not this he that sat and begged? Some said, this is he. Others said, he is like him. But he said, I am he. When people noticed and saw him, they questioned, is this the same guy? Some people said, yeah, that's the same guy. Some people said, no, it's kind of looks like him a little bit. And he says, no, I'm him. This is me. And they have a question. Therefore said they unto him, how were thine eyes opened? He answered and said, a man that is called Jesus made clay and anointed mine eyes, and said unto me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed, and I received sight. There's here a proof that is significant. They knew who he was. Some people said, well, that's him. Some people said, well, it kind of looks like him. And he said, no, it's me. I'm him. Then they have a question. How were your eyes opened? How was it that you that was unable to see is now able to see? How is it that occurred, and how is it that happened? How could this be that you were once completely blind and now you can see? How could that happen? He gives them the answer. It's a man named Jesus. When somebody asks you how you're not the person that you used to be, the answer is very simple. There's this man named Jesus. The answer is simple. There's a man named Jesus. He told me to do this, and I did that, and now I see. He told me to go and to wash. He made a clay and he made an ointment. He put it onto my eyes, and I went and washed the way he told me to go wash. And here's what we can take from this verse. If we just do what it is that Jesus asked us to do, then we'd be amazed at what miraculous things can happen. But do we? Do we always follow? Do we always do the things that he tells us to do? Do we always act in the way that he wants us to act? Do we always listen to the instructions and follow them? If we would, I believe that we would see what happens in verse number 12. And they said unto him, Where is he? For what purpose? That I may know him. They see something different in this man. They want to have some of that. They see something has changed in this man. They want to have some of that. We need a lot of people to have their eyes opened. We need a lot of people to be able to see what's around them and to see what's happening and to see what's going on. And you know what? If we're honest, then most of us have to say, there was a time in our life that I was blind. And if we